Some 13 years after the credits rolled on the final episode, The X-Files still remains one of the most iconic and boundary-pushing TV shows to ever grace our screens. 202 episodes of alien abduction, government conspiracy, things that go bump in the night, and you're already whistling the theme tune in your head, aren't you? I can hear it. The show made us see television, and indeed the night sky, in an entirely different way. But some of the most astonishing facts aren't about the monsters, the ghouls, or the shady government agencies that featured in the stories, but about what went on behind the camera. My name is Adam Cleary, and am I going to use the tired old gag about the truth being in here? Yes, of course I am. These are 20 things you didn't know about the X-Files. Number 20, the theme tune was based on the Smiths. When Chris Carter approached American composer Mark Snow about creating an iconic and eerie theme tune for the show, he handed him a copy of the Smiths' 1985 neo-psychedelia anthem, How Soon Is Now. Hoping that inspiration would come from the now famous echoing guitar hook laid down by Johnny Marr, Snow instead latched onto Morrissey's small whistling part and sculpted it into the core theme. Just listen. Yep, this bit. Yeah, no, me neither. 19. A dance remix got to number 8 in the UK charts. Speaking of music, as I just was, after becoming one of the most recognisable title cards in TV history, the theme tune was released as a single in 1996. It actually charted at number 2 here in the UK, but was kept off top spot by The Prodigy's Firestarter, and absolutely fair there, to be honest. At the same time, though, an Italian producer by the name of DJ Daco, I'm not really sure, produced a dream trance version that needs to be heard to be believed. So, here you go. Got to number 1 in Denmark, that. 18. Bruce Campbell was nearly Mulder. It's hard to imagine the X-Files being anywhere near as successful without David Duchovny in the central role. But the decision to cast him was made quite late into the production process. Leading the way was none other than Bruce Campbell, who, arguably the number 1 supernatural leading man in the early 90s, had the credibility to attract the audience they were so desperately after. In the end, the chin missed out, and the world of cult movies kept its favourite son. Number 17. Nobody wanted Gillian Anderson except Chris Carter. Despite the network making it clear to the show's creators that they wanted a new, air quotes, bombshell actress for the female lead in the show, Chris Carter instead cast rookie actress Gillian Anderson. This network annoyance rumbled on for 2 whole seasons, with some executives adamant that a, and again air quotes, taller, leggier, blonder, and breastier actress would have been better. And I mean, just putting aside how idiotic that sounds now, that is still the same Gillian Anderson who was voted world's sexiest woman 2 years into the show's run. Idiots? Number 16. Chris Carter moved filming to where the good forests are. When pre-production eventually began on the show, Chris Carter began scouting locations for filming in Los Angeles. However, after extensively hunting for scenery that provided the creepy backdrop some episodes would necessitate, he opted instead to move the entire show to Vancouver in Canada, going, in his words, where the good forests are. This lasted until David Duchovny forced the show to move back to LA so he could be nearer his wife, hence the reason season 6 looks, well, all wrong. 15. They once sprayed 1,600 gallons of paint onto a gravel pit. While Vancouver has no end of eerie forests, it's a little short on deserts. In the season 2 finale, set in the barren and arid New Mexico, producers needed a way to bring the desert to them. The solution? They took over 7,000 litres of red paint and sprayed it over a disused quarry before digitally adding in a more appealing sky. For reference, that is 12,318 pints, nearly 3 times as many as I had on my birthday. 14. William B. Davis hadn't smoked for 20 years. After initially appearing as an ominous overlooker in season 1, the cigarette-smoking man eventually became the primary antagonist and one of the most iconic bad guys in TV history. Helped, of course, by the constant veil of cigarette smoke he surrounds himself with, William B. Davis had actually quit smoking some 20 years prior to taking the role. 13. And he was only supposed to be an extra. Yeah, Davis probably didn't think ending his 20-year stretch as a non-smoker would be too big a commitment originally, as he was only cast to play an extra leaning on the shelf of A.D. Skinner's office. However, the brooding and sinister character played so well with test audiences that he was written into the script for the first season before having him revealed as a key component of the entire alien invasion. Mad one. 12. None of the badges in the show actually say Federal Bureau of Investigation. For quite very obvious reasons, it's illegal to make a fake FBI badge, even if you're only going to be using them to flash at men dressed in rubber alien suits. Thus, a few subtle tweaks were made to keep the show on the right side of the law. If you look closely at the opening title sequence, you'll see that the words justice and investigation are reversed, reading instead Federal Bureau of Justice, United States Department of Investigation. 11. They kept making fun of David Duchovny's appearance on Jeopardy. Yeah, after Mulder's, let's say, fairly poor showing on American quiz show Celebrity Jeopardy, what are frogs, the scriptwriters began dropping in subtle references to the answers to the questions he got wrong. In Season 3, Episode 12, Scully can be seen reading Breakfast at Tiffany's, while Season 3, Episode 13 is based at Grover Cleveland Alexander High School. It got decidedly less subtle from then on though, with the show's host, Alex Trebek, appearing in Season 3, Episode 20, and Scully actually watching the show herself in Episode 23. Number 10. Gillian Anderson was going to play Clarice Starling. When Carter first imagined the character of Scully, he drew her very matter-of-fact approach and visual image from Jodie Foster's portrayal of FBI agent Clarice Starling in 1991's Silence of the Lambs. Years later, when casting began for the sequel and the role of Starling was vacated by Foster, producers turned immediately to Anderson. However, the X-Files had inserted a clause into Anderson's contract preventing her from playing another member of the Bureau on screen, which is quite clever. Number 9. She filmed most of her scenes stood on a box. Yeah, you see, you probably don't realise this, but David Duchovny is almost an entire foot taller than Gillian Anderson. And as anyone who's ever watched a video with me and Wilborn in it will understand, it is a nightmare to frame a tight shot like that. The solution was literally just stick her on a box. Number 8. Breaking Bad's Vince Gilligan got his break by sending a script into the X-Files. The show started a lot of careers on both sides of the camera, but arguably the greatest success story is that of Breaking Bad's creator Vince Gilligan. Being a young writer looking for his big break in the mid-90s, as well as a massive fan of the show, he submitted a script to Fox, which was developed into Softlight in Season 2. He was then brought on board with the show and went on to write another 26 episodes, as well as receive co-executive producer credits 44 times. Number 7. The show was supposed to end in Season 5. Chris Carter's original plan had been to run the X-Files on TV for 5 seasons before moving it to a series of movies to both up the production value and the exposure. But with Season 5 drawing to an end, Fox weren't prepared to just let one of the most popular and profitable shows on television wrap up. Thus, they commissioned Carter to make both a new film and a new season instead. That said though, trying to balance the long-running arcs of a serialized story parallel to a standalone movie let's not talk about that. Number 6. Final Destination was originally an X-Files episode. There are many proposed scripts for the show that for one reason or another never made it onto the series, but none went on to do as much as Flight 180. Screenwriter Jeffrey Reddick wrote a script after reading about a woman who'd refused to board TWA Flight 800 on the hunch of her mother. The plane subsequently crashed, and Reddick submitted a script about death catching up with people who've avoided it. Carter, for whatever reason, wasn't a fan, but his writing partners Morgan and Wong worked with him to eventually turn it into Final Destination. Number 5. Dave Grohl has a cameo. Look, there he is in the... Hang on, rewind that. Yep, that one there, that's him, trust me. There are, of course, loads of cameos in the X-Files. Lucy Liu, Luke Wilson, Jack Black, Ryan Reynolds, Shia LaBeouf, Giovanni Ribisi, and Seth Green all stopped by on their way to acting stardom, but the Foo Fighters frontman is easily the most bizarre. Number 4. Layla Harrison was actually a tribute to a fan who died. X-Files fanfic is the stuff of legend, and the show's writers were as avid readers of it as anyone. I mean, I'm not really sure why. I've personally read my own fanfiction and none of it's overly pleasant, but hey, maybe the 90s were a gentler time. Anyway, such was the affinity between the fans and the writers that when fanfic writer Layla Harrison died of cancer, the show's creators added a new FBI agent who just happened to be a huge fan of Mulder and Scully and named it after her. That is really nice. Number 3. Skinner married Scully's stand-in. While everybody was busy obsessing over the blossoming relationship that may or may not have been happening on screen, there was a real-life one taking place off it. Actress Arlene Warren was hired to work as a stand-in for Gillian Anderson in a number of scenes before eventually being cast as A.D. Skinner's secretary. Mitch Pileggi, who played Skinner, took quite the shine to the Scully alike, it seems, and in 1997, the two married. Nearly 20 years later, and the two are still together and have one child. Number 2, The Lone Gunman had a spin-off show. Melvin Frohickey, John Fitzgerald Byers, and Richard Langley, better known to fans as The Lone Gunman, actually had their own show. Yep, and it was actually pretty good too. They basically just went around unraveling conspiracy theories and thwarting government black ops. The show was created by Carter and Vince Gilligan, but despite being, as I saw, actually quite good, it was cancelled after just one series. Number 1, it predicted the 9/11 World Trade Center attacks. Yeah, not really sure how to play this one, but The Lone Gunman's pilot episode is not comfortable reading. The thrust is that the group discover and eventually thwart an attempt by the US government to hijack a commercial airliner, fly it into the World Trade Center, blame the attack on foreign terrorists, and use that incident as a precursor to a profit-making war on foreign soil. Yeah, about that. It also aired on March the 4th, 2001, a mere 6 months before the Al-Qaeda attacks on the Twin Towers. For a show about conspiracy theories, that's, well, arguably weirder than anything The X-Files ever did.